Awesome. So just to set the tone a little bit for the afternoon, in the morning we talked about fundraising opportunities that are available for everyone. So everyone should be sending letters and emails. Everyone most likely will have some sort of capacity to at least explore larger gifts or corporate sponsorships. And in the afternoon, we're going to talk about the capital FUN fundraising opportunities in the form of online auctions, planning events, grand finale revenue, and social media. So these are going to be sessions that there might be some topics that just are not relevant to your campaign. If you decide you don't want to plan an event, that's totally fine. If you don't have Charity Buzz or OMA's auction items, that's totally fine. But hopefully this will spur some brainstorming, and this is just extra ways to raise money for your campaign. So we are going to start with online auctions. And just a quick couple points on online auctions. Today we're going to talk specifically about a website called Charity Buzz, which we have used in the past, but there are also auction sites called OMA's and Bidding for Good that just have a little bit of a different feel to them. Bidding for Good is lower end items, and OMA's are really if you have a celebrity or an entertainment contact who is all in and wants to do multiple touch points and promote it on social media. So although we won't really talk about OMA's specifically or Bidding for Good, these are options that Kirsten and I can explore with you if something comes to mind. So just wanted to bring that up. And also, second note on online auctions and planning events specifically. With planning events and online auctions, these are for the benefit of LLS and not LLS sponsored activities, which just means that your team would be responsible for any financial component of it, or in terms of the online auctions, which we'll talk about, all of the redemption contacts. So it is one of those things that if you secure an item, whoever secures that item and the redemption contact, the team is going to have to make sure that item happens in order to receive the money back to LLS. So just a couple notes on that, because it's a little bit different than the fundraising campaign. They're really designed to be additions to your campaign to benefit LLS versus an LLS-sponsored activity. So with that, we have two gentlemen who I adore, who both utilize Charity Buzz to raise, I think, over $25,000 for each of your campaigns. And these were just through experiences that they secured, not direct donations, and it's kind of like money from strangers. So Cameron Fay was our runner-up in 2015?
Yes.
Gosh, it feels like last year, but 2015, raising over $100,000. And Matt Smith was one of our candidates last year who raised over $50,000. So they know what they're talking about. Oh, and we have to go back to Jacob. Jacob has nominated both of these awesome gentlemen. So paying forward his legacy in a big way. So I'll pass it off to the guys.
Hi guys, so we're here to talk about the Russian collusion. So Charity Buzz items. I actually raised more than $25,000 from Charity Buzz. It was a majority of my raising because I work in the entertainment industry, so it makes it a little bit easier for me to be able to go have asks that have value. I noticed early on, based off of Jacob, my mentor, hearing that you could auction off things like if you work in development, you can offer to read a script and give notes, things like that that really carry importance to a lot of people across this country and don't have access to it. So if you happen to be in that industry, that is a great value, and I would suggest using every access point you can. Even if you don't know someone, if your cousin Bobby has a friend who's a writer on a show that you don't know, email that person regardless. Have cousin Bobby call them, it doesn't matter. Charity often ignites people's desire to help. So don't be afraid if it's not in your inner circle, jump out of that. Because it really is the most powerful thing within my campaign. I didn't have anyone who donated over $500 individually. I just don't have the contact list for these like $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 donors. So I had to hit it where I knew I could. So definitely utilize Charity Buzz. It's a very valuable tool.
Thank you. How's it going? I'll stop.
Just do this for an hour. Yeah, so I think the mentality to have when you're looking into doing Charity Buzz or online auctions is to remember that we live in LA, so we're used to driving past movie sets and studios all the time, and we've become completely desensitized to it. But to people that live in Iowa and Kansas and Florida and around the country and world, this is really exciting to a lot of people to be able to have access to Hollywood. That's just my experience like him. It doesn't have to be Hollywood, but I'll talk about that first. So you can, for example, it's free to go be in the audience at Jimmy Kimmel. You can get those tickets for free. I've seen those tickets go for over $1,000 on Charity Buzz. So you can just get the tickets for free, put them on Charity Buzz, and then that's $1,000 that you got. So think about, like you said, your inner circle, your outer circle, anyone that could provide an experience that you think someone in the country, some rich dentist in Florida might bid on. Whether it's, I've seen set visits to TV shows. I peripherally knew someone that worked on the show Hawaii Five-0. I don't think this is like the coolest show in the world, but no offense to anyone who works on Hawaii Five-0 here, but I reached out to that person, and they said, yeah, if they can fly themselves out to Hawaii and put themselves up on their own, we will give them a one-day set visit to Hawaii Five-0. That went for $10,000. Yeah, right? $10,000 to just...
Big money.
Huh?
Big money.
That's big money. Thank you. To go sit and watch them film Hawaii Five-0. It doesn't have to be entertainment. Obviously, that's an example of entertainment. If you know someone with a great vacation home in Palm Springs or Aspen or something like that, that could be put up, right? I think so, yeah. Anything that you think could be a cool experience, make that ask and throw it up there. I ended up asking 35 people for experiences. It ended up making me $45,000. And the great thing about it is you fill out a Google Doc. It takes about 10 minutes to fill out, and you're done. And then people from around the world are bidding on these items, and you're not doing any work. And then at the end of the day, you get to see how much money it made. So the only work that you have to do is making the initial ask, securing that item, making sure that they're going to actually follow through with that set visit or whatever. Fill out the Google Doc, takes 10 minutes, and you're done. And that just will make money for you. So I think it's good to, if you maybe you're not in the entertainment industry or you don't immediately have those connections, but it's good to sit down and brainstorm for a bit, because you might go, oh, I actually know someone who's a pilot, and they could offer maybe tickets to somewhere in the 48, whatever. Like that, put that on Charity Buzz, because it's good to remember that the people that are going on Charity Buzz are wanting to give to charity first. I've actually experienced that a lot of people have bought things for $1,000, $2,000, and they've never even followed through with the experience. They just gave that money to charity. They didn't even care. It happens a lot, right?
Most of them didn't follow through, to be perfectly honest. I had a lot of executives that I put up for like an hour meeting to sit with them and have an opportunity, and maybe 2 of them came through, because some of them are just people with money who think the experience sounds cool, but they didn't really logistically think about, I gotta fly over there to do this, I gotta get it all done, so they're happy to have given to charity in an effective way. But also you get the opposite of that, where you get the annoying person who harasses, and you have to smooth out the situation. So you're putting yourself on the line here, so be conscientious of that and who you want to go to, but there is a lot of that non-follow through, which makes the sell a lot easier. I definitely went to all of them and I was like, if you give me an hour of your time, there's a good chance you'll never have to even give it, but just let me use it. And they gave in.
Did you ever find that people were more willing to give a Charity Buzz experience than to give money, and that the amount that it was worth was more than they would have given?
100%. A lot of the times they thought that their time was more valuable, or whatever their item was more valuable than having to give you money directly. They didn't want to give you cash, and they could use something within their circle to do that. And he's right. Anything can be used for Charity Buzz. There are so many different ways to utilize that outside of just the entertainment industry.
Yeah, like I was just thinking sporting events or connections to some kind of sport. That's a huge thing. If you can get, courtside Laker tickets would be great. But I remember one guy got an experience playing 5-on-5 basketball with friends, and Shaq is the ref. And then you eat lunch with Shaq. Okay. $25,000. That went for $25,000. Or if you're in the corporate world and you know some CEOs or people that have a lot of influence in the corporate world, lunch meetings or meetings with someone that's a CEO, man, if you go on the Charity Buzz website, you'll see those go for so much money because people are wanting to launch their business and they will invest in sitting down with a successful CEO. They might spend thousands of dollars to just have lunch with that person. So it doesn't have to be entertainment. Obviously, we live in LA, so that's available to a lot of people. But you know, go on the Charity Buzz website and look at all the categories and start to think, who do I know that could fit into these categories? Because Jacob's absolutely right. Asking someone for money, maybe you get $100, maybe you're really lucky and you get $200. But I asked my agent for money and he was like, I'm like, fuck you, man. Like, he's 10% of my money. But then he was like, I mean, I'll sit down, I'll read a script and sit down with a writer. And so for an aspiring writer to sit down with a reputable agent and have them read your script, well, that went for $2,500. And he got a big head about that, but he has a big head anyway. But I got $2,500. So yeah, it's good to ask everyone because the worst case scenario, they're just complimented. If they can't do it, they're just like, well, thanks for thinking of me. So there's no reason to not make the ask.
Just one thing to keep in mind, though, if you do make the ask, make sure you can deliver. Because afterwards, there have been messes that have to have been cleaned up if it's not a full, like, yes, we're committing to doing this. I know it seems like, oh, they sort of maybe said yes, it seemed like it was a kind of yes. Like, make sure you get a yes, because you don't want to deal with the aftermath. Any questions?
Yeah. Were there any items that you noticed didn't sell that maybe we should avoid?
For me, there were things that I thought were going to sell that didn't, that were surprising. Everyone sort of sold me on the sports aspect. Sports items go crazy. So I had a friend that worked for the LA Kings, and she donated all these like signed items and tickets and all these things, and it did not move. And I don't know if it was that people didn't care about the Kings at the time. I don't follow sports, so I don't know at all. But I just expected more from it. So you repurpose things. I did a drag queen bingo night where I used that as one of the auction items there, and it ended up selling randomly. Who knew drag queens likes hockey? So you just figure out how to be creative and resourceful.
And I think Charity Buzz doesn't take autograph items anymore, so don't even worry about that. But you'll never really know what ultimately. Part of it is just who's on the website at the time, and if with the Hawaii 5.0, a bidding war started, and you really can't. So two people desperately apparent at the same time decided they wanted to go to Hawaii 5.0. I have no control over that. It was just very lucky that happened. So you just go for as many things as you can get. And I had Elizabeth Banks say that she would record a voicemail as like her Effie from Hunger Games or whoever you were, just as Elizabeth Banks. And that went for like $250. Like no one gave a shit about that. And I was like, can you do it for me? It was pretty cool. But anyway.
With your Hawaii 5.0 visit, was there any like liability release or like NDA that they had to sign? And did you have to do that, or was that done through?
That's all them. They will decide what security measures they will put in place. They're pretty used to people coming to set, so I'm sure they had someone sign something, but I did not have to worry about that. The producers, once they said yes in an email, yes, we will. As long as they get themselves there and put themselves up, we will allow them to be on set for one day and meet the actors that are on set that day. That was the agreement. And I think he even added, and we'll have everyone sign a script. That was just something he threw in. I was like, oh, that's great, okay. Once that happened, it was out of my hands, and it was between the contact that you list, which is usually an assistant, at the show or something, and the winning bidder.
And a lot of times we'll trigger, like I got a walk-on role on Angie Tribeca because I work at TBS, and that ended up sparring like $4,000 or $5,000, and then I got a call from Ellie, who was my sort of go-to at the time, and she was like, we want to do it again. Like, it went so well. Do you think you could squeeze out another walk-on role? Which we said no to, but that kind of thing happens, that it can spur more and more. It starts the spiral of events. So think about that as well, like where can A lead to D?
I think, I mean, if you know someone that can have, you can be, so this is crazy. Being an extra, again, you get paid to be an extra, but you can be a featured extra on this TV show. If you can get that, people will pay thousands of dollars to do that. Again, the LA mentality, we're like, that makes no sense. But if you're an idol, you're like, I'm going to be on a TV show, and that's really, I didn't mean to do an accent, but I think that's, you know, that's fun. So I don't know what it was. I dived out of it. I went out of it at the end there, so I just sounded like an idiot. But yeah.
Any other questions?
When is the best time to secure charity buzz items?
Good question. I started really early because I knew I didn't have any big donors, so I was like, I want to get some money in the bank fast. So I started harassing people even before the kickoff began. I knew who I was going to try to go after first. So I don't know how far you guys are in the process, but now, yesterday, start going after them.
Yeah, I said this a little bit in that little game room over there, but I think there's kind of a flow to this campaign. Everyone's campaign is different, but in general, I would get all my charity buzzes in the beginning and just let them make money for you. And if you think of more as you're going, great, you can add to those, but just spend the front part of your campaign now doing that. In the middle is when there's usually a lull, is when I went a big time for my personal asks to try to raise that lull a bit. And then in the end is when I did the events, because what I realized is that if you put an event early on, usually, and this isn't a hard rule, but usually people will come and they'll think, oh, I've donated to the campaign already. Whereas if you put it at the end, people who haven't donated probably weren't going to donate. They go, oh, I can give $20 to go to that event. And the people who have donated will go, I'll go to the event, and you've got them to pay to donate twice. So that was the kind of general flow that I thought worked pretty well. And definitely, if you're going to do Charity Buzz, just hit it hard early.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you, guys.